Hey, hi all. In today's session, we'll talk about what is CLI and what are the sections we have in under CLI component here as part of .NET Framework. So, if you talk about CLI, it is a common language infrastructure where we used to run all programming languages code under common infrastructure. When I say common means it is common for all .NET languages. So if you look at the .NET languages, as I said, we have 60 plus languages, but the C sharp, VB, F sharp are more frequently using languages in .NET framework. So when you're writing a program in these programming languages, these programs are going to be executed or compiled on a common language infrastructure area, wherein we have a couple of components inside of CLI. And using these CLI components, the source code is going to be compiled further into bytecode and then native code. Let me explain more on this. The components of CLI. CLI, in simple terms, if you want to define me an abbreviation, right? This is common language runtime, common language, sorry, infrastructure, right? Which enables an application program an application program written in any program or any programming language or commonly used programming language to be run on any operating system using CLI, right? Any common language runtime using common language runtime. I'll be calling it as common language infrastructure as well. So, common language infrastructure, which enables an application program returned, right, in any commonly used programming language here, C sharp, VB, F sharp, etc., to be run on any operating system using common language runtime, that is CLR. That is CLR. Okay. So when it comes to this CLI, common language infrastructure, right? So rather running everything on this common language runtime, right? A specific or every language, right? It is going to be pass the source program to common infrastructure wherein we have all facilities or arrangements to compile your program into MSIL. So what I'm trying to explain it here is instead of compiling each program to a specific environment, right? We are going to compile all programming languages in a special common area, which is called a common language infrastructure. Okay. So rather than compiling a source code like C sharp into a C sharp specific infrastructure or VB code into VB specific infrastructure, we are going to compile all these programming language source code into a common language infrastructure called CLI. CLI consists of CLI consists of below sections. One is metadata, second is CTS, third is CLS, and last one is VES. That is what virtual execution system. So what is this metadata? So as explained in earlier session, metadata is nothing but data about data, which describes, right, the source code program and embedded into MSIL file because this metadata is going to be generated along with MSIL file. Okay, MSIL, CAL or IL, all the names are same. Okay, intermediate language file. Okay, Microsoft Intermediate Language, Common Intermediate Language, or Intermediate Language. What is the CTS? So CTS is nothing but common type system, right? common type system, which contains collection of types to be used across all .NET Framework languages. So when we talk about CTS, right, it is a kind of a common type system wherein we use this for referring common type for any language inside of .NET Framework. Because when I say like I'm going to write a program in C Sharp, right? For example, if I want to declare a variable to store EMP ID, right? I'm going to define as int EMP ID, correct? And this is something C Sharp syntax. Okay. If same thing, if you want to declare, right, in VB.NET, this is something dim EMP ID as integer. So it's entirely different syntax we are using, also entirely different type we are using. This is integer, this is int, but the both variable purpose is storing of EMP ID. But where we have different frameworks in .NET, different languages in .NET framework, they are come up with different syntaxes here. But as a responsible person, a responsible compiler like here CLR, it has to compile all programming language source code, right, on the common infrastructure. Correct. Then they'll refer CTS. That means this int and integer is going to be mapped with int 16 or int 32. Mapped with int 32. This is CTS type. And even for the .NET, VB.NET also is going to map with CTS type int 32. That means 4 bytes space. Clear? So even though you are writing program in different languages with different specific rules, like here for the integer in C Sharp is int and VB.NET is integer, right? It finally, I'm going to map with CTS type here called int 32. Okay. So this common type system basically contains the common types, which will replace with the common type data types when you start compiling it, and then it generates MSIL file. Okay. And coming to the next component here is CLS. This is common language specifications. Okay. So that means it is kind of rules, restrictions, or writing inside of it for every language, and adhere to follow those rules and restrictions as a programming language. So this is subset of CTS. Okay, it is subset of CTS having set of rules to be followed by every language. Okay, so like as I mentioned, the C sharp, it has to be used int keyword to define integer variable, and every statement is going to be terminated with semicolon. But when it comes to VB, we have to use dim keyword and then we have to use integer. It does not require semicolon. These are set of rules defined inside of CTS, sorry, CLS. So when CLR refers these CLS rules and restrictions, and then it decides to like which compiler it has to get it through compile your source program. If it is C sharp, it will use CSC. If it is VB, it will use VBC like that. So based on CLS restrictions rules, it is going to invoke that relevant compiler to compile into MSIL. Okay. If we talk about C sharp and VB.NET, so C sharp statement must have to end with semicolon. It is also called statement terminator. But in VB.NET, statement should not end with semicolon. Correct? So this is what CLS here. And coming to the next one is VES. It's nothing but virtual execution system. It's similar to virtual machine, what we're calling inside of our laptop, right? You are not seeing that machine, but it is going to perform and execute and compile your program and perform the relevant action. Okay, so uh, it is responsible. It is responsible for loading and executing. It is responsible to load and executing program that are written for the .NET runtime. .NET runtime. Okay, whatever things are required to perform runtime. So this VES is going to execute or load all the relevant stuff for program execution. Okay, so the purpose of the VES is to provide support for or support that is required to execute the common intermediate language instruction set. So purpose of this VES is that, right, is required to execute the CLI instruction set. Okay, so these four are the components existed inside of CLI. So common language infrastructure contains metadata, common type system, common language specifications, and a virtual execution system. So these all comes under one single umbrella called CLI. Okay, CLI is a infrastructure where it having metadata, CTS, CLS, VES. Okay, with these sections, it is going to be compiled into MSIL, and MSIL is going to be handed over to a JIT compiler so that it will compile to native code. Okay, so I hope you understood like what is CLI and what components available in setup CLI. Thanks for listening to this video, and please subscribe this channel. Thank you.